All right, Ralph, it was a busy and a diverse weekend for the NFC East. A lot of differing strategies happening at the same time. Let's get it out of the way with the team that, at least in the immediate aftermath of the draft, is the hardest to figure out. That would be the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. Here's the thing, Ralph. I liked what they did. I gave the Cowboys a B. A lot of good players here. You know, you come out of this draft with two potential starting offensive linemen in Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. But to a point that a lot of people have made, I'm not sure this is a draft that makes them an immediately better team than what we saw last year. Very notably, they don't get a running back in this year's draft class. Maybe they're going to bring back Ezekiel Elliott. I guess we'll see. But what do you make of the talent they acquired versus how much it's going to help them in the immediate future?
Well, I mean, that's the question, right? We're running this whole offseason evaluation of the Cowboys under the umbrella of them being all in, and whatever Jerry Jones seemingly meant when he said that. Oddly, when he talked about being all in, one of the specific examples he gave was, the draft and how he wouldn't draft players that were for the future. He wanted guys who can help him right now. And okay, you're right. I think talent overall, for the most part, they got good value with most of the guys they picked. It was a good draft. They got a left tackle. Could they have done a little bit better if they stayed where they were instead of trading down? Maybe, but Tyler Guyton could be a good left tackle for them. Cooper Beebe could be a good center for them. But then you look at everything else, and Marshawn Nealon, the edge rusher they took in the second round. I had a scout text me and he said the Cowboys are going to love him in 2025. He's a guy that might need a year before he can really help them. And that doesn't make it a bad pick. It just doesn't help them right now. You look at the fact that they didn't have a running back taken. And Jerry Jones was on record right after the draft saying, well, teams have won the Super Bowl after they got a running back mid-season. And that's certainly a strategy if that's the way he wants to go. But he didn't get that all-in help that he needed at that position. There were certainly other positions where he could have gotten more help too. So I thought they did good, but it's hard not to look at the overall offseason strategy and still kind of shrug your shoulders and wonder what the heck they're doing overall.
It's very interesting because, Marshawn Nealon, he could be a very good replacement for DeMarcus Lawrence in the long term. Like I mentioned, I think their offensive line got much better in the big picture, but we don't know the situation with Dak Prescott. We don't know when his extension's coming or if it's going to happen in Dallas. So it's weird to think, oh, these picks could be great in 2025, knowing that you could be headed for some real upheaval in 2025. It's a very interesting in-between for them to be sitting in.
No question. And, for most teams, when you come out of the draft, you're looking at, are they better overall as a franchise? Is this going to help them for the future? Things like that. But with the Cowboys, again, after basically sitting out free agency, and they kept saying, well, we still have the draft. Can you look at this draft and look at this class and say, okay, the Cowboys are much better than they were a few days ago? Yeah, a little on the offensive line. They were going to find somebody to plug in on the offensive line. Now they've got two rookies. We'll see how that works out. But nothing in this draft class screams to me, well, the Cowboys made themselves a lot better. Now I see what they're doing. I still have no idea.
I'm with you. I like the picks themselves. I don't know what it means for right now. All right, let's wrap it up with probably the busiest team in the division. I mean, on top of making a bunch of picks, the Philadelphia Eagles did like 9 trades. And on top of the talent, that's why I gave the Eagles an A+. You get arguably the best corner in the draft at pick 22. Then you double back and trade up for one of the other best corners in the class, and Cooper DeJean. So you got 2 DBs right away who should play a big role as rookies. And on top of that, I saw you mention on FoxSports.com, Howie Roseman added capital for next year's draft as well. I know it's a cliche to praise this guy at this point, but my only question for you is, how does Howie keep doing this?
I don't think anybody knows anymore. People try to emulate what he does, but some of it, honestly, is just luck, too. He spent most of the first round trying to trade up in the draft to get a cornerback, and then just sat there at 22, and they were all still on the board. So you could take his top guy, Quinion Mitchell, at everybody's top guy, or one of everybody's top 2 guys. And then he was thinking at that point of, all right, do we do this? Maybe we take Cooper DeJean instead. And then he finds Cooper DeJean in the second round as well. it's just unbelievable the way things work out for him. It's a lot of it is, there is some luck to it for sure, but there also is being aggressive and being prepared. He's not afraid to trade up to get the player he wants. He's not afraid to trade back to add capital that, next year he'll use in trades to trade up. So he just works free agency and contracts in the draft better than any GM in the league. And when you do that and you're aggressive, good things can happen. And, you saw it all throughout the draft, even in the fifth round. They're able to trade up and get Jeremiah Trotter. Not only just a great story going to where his father played, but a guy who could be a really valuable linebacker for them. And despite all those trades, they still ended up with 10 players selected. So they got a nice, haul as well. They're just amazing. The rich just keep getting richer, and they can keep their own talent, and they just keep restocking with new.
I can hear rival fans getting annoyed with how nice we are to Howie Roseman. But here's the thing that I want to point out. I know not all of this is going to work, right? Like Howie Roseman is famously the guy that passed on Justin Jefferson in favor of Jalen Reagor. Like he took Jalen Reagor above Justin Jefferson. He's not infallible. But what I love about the Eagles is the way they set themselves up to always have more bites at the apple. Like I said, they added a third round pick in next year's draft. They added capital. A couple years ago, you do a trade with the Saints that gives you an extra first round pick that allows you to add to a team that just played in the Super Bowl. Maybe Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean won't both work out. I like the odds that one of those guys becomes a useful player for you. And stuff like that it's the byproduct of how Howie Roseman moves around. If you're constantly maneuvering, constantly giving yourself opportunities, then some of them are going to work out. And I think that's why the Eagles, it's not just why they're good right now, but it's why they've managed to rebuild a bad team into a good one very, very quickly.
Yeah. And he's not afraid when he makes a mistake to fix it. They don't get Justin Jefferson. Okay, he gets AJ Brown. He trades up in the draft for Devonta Smith. One guy doesn't work out, he will go find another one, and he'll maneuver those contracts, maneuver his personnel, maneuver the picks to always be in position where, okay, I've got a little more draft capital than I thought I had, and I can trade up if I need to. I've got a little more cap space. I can make a big offer if I need to. It's just constantly having that flexibility. Maybe someday it will hurt him. Maybe all this will, 5-6 years from now, they're going to have a huge credit card bill for all of this, and they'll have to figure their way out of it. But he doesn't see it that way. He just figures, I'll deal with it down the road. I'll figure a way out of whatever's going on. And it's just constantly that he's right. He's able to do it.
Big expectations for the Eagles. And in a weird way, I know we got a whole season to do, but I can't wait to see what 2025 holds for the Giants and the Cowboys and even the Commanders. So much intrigue. Like I said, we got the 2024 season to worry about first, though. So, Ralph, I'm sure we will check in with you about that soon. But thanks for talking us through this, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.